Okay. Sure. Rotate device. Why? Okay. All right. So I guess I will wait till everybody else comes back in first. That's what's up, man. All right. So yeah, Ross, of course, you know the routine. I don't know what's going on with this place, but I'm glad I'm leaving. Yeah, yeah. Partly my fault though. I've been very busy today. And all right, we got 3 in here, 2 likes. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. 4 in here, 2 likes. 2 of y'all are slacking. Hit like, hit like, hit like. If you're in the room, hit like. We are going to begin once we get to 20 people. I'm going to just take off from what I was saying before in the previous, which was just me waiting anyway, so I'll probably delete the video. 5 and 3. So 2 of you guys hit like. If you're coming in just now, hit like. It helps the channel, helps YouTube recommend it to people that are like-minded and things like that. So hit like, that would be great. All right, we got 7 likes and 6 people in here. So somebody rigged the vote. I appreciate that. But yeah, so what was I saying prior? So yeah, the next group study is not next Sunday, but the Sunday after. And it's how to rekindle your relationship with your chi so that your chi is a guide, or that your chi is your primary guide as you move through the world, or as you take on a particular endeavor, or maybe if you're just looking for a specific answer or a set of answers or a set of truths. A lot of us, there's a saying that goes with that particular live that we're going to have on the Patreon, patreon.com/the medicine shell, that is. And that is that Madu Chefu Chia Chefuya. So if a person forgets their chi will forget them. And this is the situation most people are in if they're not aware that they have a chi, and that they're actively sustaining and maintaining that relationship with that. Their creator, the thing that brought them into the world. So right now we have 12 people in here and 10 likes. Let's see if we can get 2 more likes on the board. But the reason I wanted to have that discussion was because, like I said, me and our Igbo 2 teacher with Kedu.me, we were discussing this particular concept, and so I wanted to bring that in. Sony Manju, good to see you. Awesome, awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. 12 to 10. Got 2 people that need to hit the like button. We are going to begin once we hit 20. Today's topic is Chica Dibia. Why do people say this? As well as a little bit of how it was co-opted by the church to mean something else, and what the saying means for this day and age, because there's a lot of things I'm seeing that I kind of want to address, and so forth. So 12 to 10, 12 to 10. The discussion is Chica Dibia. This discussion is an introduction to a discussion we're going to have on the group study at patreon.com/the medicine shell. I don't even know how to type while I'm talking on the phone, because I'm not used to using the phone, and frankly, I'm not interested in. Anyways, I'm gonna say that. Uh, all messages are visible. Let me do this. Okay. Give me a minute. Trying to figure this out. Member and super chat messages. Maybe I should do that. It's all good. All right, go ahead and hit like if you're in. We got 14 people in. Once we hit 20 people, I'm going to go ahead and begin. The topic is Chica Dibia. Oh, today officially begins, like officially though, the option has been available for about a week, but officially begins enrollment for the June 26th course of Kedu.me. So if you're, I don't think I think the Igbo 1 class is going on right now, and it should be ending pretty soon. If you're an Igbo 1, this would be the time to speak to your instructor and see if you can sign up for Igbo 2, or sign up for a language coach to really solidify what you learned in 1 before going on to 2, whatever you're comfortable with. If you're not enrolled at all, we are now doing enrollments for Kedu.me. Kedu.me is my Igbo language and custom school. If you're a student at Kedu.me, of course, you're coming there to learn how to speak the Igbo language. But what is particularly unique about Kedu is that we have, there are 3 things that I think are really unique. So The first thing is that each person is paired with an instructor, so you're learning in a group study with other people, and then a coach who you're learning with one to one. Your coach is calling you, or you're calling them either daily or however frequently you want, and you guys are having conversations in the language, and that really helps solidify the things you're learning in class. For a lot of us, like myself, who have had like a lifetime exposure to language, but we're not as good as we wish to be. Having that coach give you that daily conversation and being able to speak the language on a daily basis, or 2 times a week or 3 times a week, whatever you choose, speaking as frequently really helps you like bring out what was already hiding somewhere inside of you. It helps you kind of like cement your pronunciation a lot more. Since I started Kedu, I feel like at least 70% of my conversations have been in the Igbo language, because one of the things I made sure to do was that any business discussions we're having is going to be in Igbo. Any writing back and forth is going to be in all emails. Anything internal is going to be 100% the Igbo language, right? And so that put the fire under me to regularly improve, right? Because like my teachers are like way up here, so they can throw terms at me that I've never heard in my life, right? And it puts the pressure on me to figure out what that means and then, respond aptly and things like that. Good morning, Wanne Ifeanyi from Nigeria. Good morning, Ifeanyi. Good morning. Ifeanyi, where in Nigeria are you located? All right, we're at 18, we're at 19. Looks like we're at 19, but we only have 13 likes. If you're just coming in, hit the like button. I want to see 19 likes, 19 people. Imo State, Stanley, Amigwe. Where in Imo State? Wonderful. You're my brother. I'm from Imo State as well. I don't know if I've shared that enough on here, but I should. I'm from Awo Mama. I'm from Awo Mama. 19, 18. Let's see if we can get. We only have 13 likes. So those of you who have not hit like, hit like. Isun Jaba. Okay, my wife is from Isu. Iwagom. Iwagom. Yeah. So 16, go ahead and hit like. We're going to begin at, once we hit 20, I'm going to go ahead and get this started. The topic is Chica Dibia. Why do people say Chica Dibia? Where does that phrase come from? What is the meaning of all of that? Go ahead and hit like if you're in the room. We got 16 in here and 14 likes. So if we can get two more likes, I'll have peace in my heart. 13 or 17 to 14. Once we hit 20, we're going to go ahead and begin. We're going to go ahead and begin. Like I was saying, open enrollment has started for Kedu. So yeah, the things that make it unique. So unique thing number one, right? And if somebody can type kedu.me in the chat so that people can click the link, I would appreciate that. I don't want to mess around with the phone interface or whatever and click the wrong thing and close the whole chat. So if somebody can type kedu.me so that people can go on there and see what's available and that type of thing, that'd be awesome. But you have the coach and you have the instructor, but then I also give people a project. Now the reason I give them a project is because I aligning the method of learning with how our ancestors saw learning, and they saw learning as something kind of goes with this topic, something that comes from the inside out rather than the outside in, right? So the best way to learn a language with that philosophy is for you to remove the mental blocks out of the way and assume the identity of a person who speaks that language and let it out, right? And it sounds out there based off of how contemporary thinking would have you believe learning happens, but it's really not, right? So one of the things I have people say in classes is "Anamasuibo," I speak Igbo, right? Because for me, though I'm not a master, I'm not an expert, or anything like that. What helped me reach the phrase where I was stumbling over every sentence to the point where I was stumbling over maybe every paragraph was beginning to see myself as somebody who spoke the language. So when people would ask me, "Do you speak Igbo?" I used to be like, "A little bit." Now I say yes, right? And see, just saying that yes opened up a lot, and then a lot of it came out of me and that type of thing. And you'd be surprised because again, if you could just say, "Okay, yeah, but you lived in the culture, blah blah." But we have students who have never, as in, touched one whim of Gary. We have students who were born, raised in America, have been in America for generation after generation after generation, and they, as in, they're like, I spoke to, I just got off the phone with one. If she's in the chat, hello, how you doing? I'm gonna call you back. You got saved by these my bad charger situation, but the amount she can hear really surprised me. Though I don't know. I don't believe she knows how much she has learned. Right, as much she can hear, the amount she can speak surprised the hell out of me. I'm speaking to students who have never stepped foot in Nigeria, and they are fluid. They are speaking, they are understanding, they are moving, that type of thing. And so I'm really just proud of the program. We have hit 20. Orule. Hey! Orule. Okay, we officially hit 20. Umuigwe. Ejikwe moji n'aka na-ekelekwe unu niile. Ka anyị bido. Okike kere ụwa. Eji moji na-ekele gị. Alawa ala. Ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ. Ala mụrụ anyị niile. Na-enye ndụ, na-enye ọmụmụ, na-enye ụlọ, na-enye ihe ọma. Ejikwe m ọjị ike na-ekele gị nke m ji n'aka. Ọjị ike bụ ọjị ndị iche anyị. Ọjị ike bụ ọjị anyị ga-eji ama onwe anyị. Ga-ama na anyị na chi kere anyị bụ otu. Anyị na ụwa kere anyị bụ otu. Anyị ji otu obi aga. Anyị ji otu uche na-aga, mana anyị na-aga otu ije Chineke kere ka anyị gaa n'ụwa. N'ọka ọ ka dị na eke na orie na afọ na nkwọ ise. All right, so very simple one. All I did was give acknowledgments to the Creator. I greeted the Creator. You could say, wonderful, wonderful. Receive it, receive, receive. So I gave acknowledgments to the Creator as always. I gave acknowledgments to the earth. I referred to her as the giver of life, the giver of good things, just listing all the different things that she gives that are wonderful and that we're grateful for, and that type of thing, right? After that, I said that this was Oji Ndiche, the Oji of our ancestors, the Oji that we use to know ourselves, to know each other, to know that the Chi that created us and we who are here on earth right now are one, that we and our Creator are the exact same thing. We are one, and that we are one of hearts. Hey, Igbo Kwenu, organic black. Wow, that's very generous. Igbo Kwenu, Igbo Kwenu, Igbo Kwezienu. Nwanne m ana m akpọ organic black. Werekwa ọjị. Ihe i mere taa ni. Ọ ihe ọma. Ị ga-adị. Ị ga-eto. Nke ọ bụla itiri aka ọ ga-eto n'ụwa. Ọ ga-adị n'ahụ na eke na orie na afọ na nkwọ ise. Organic black, thank you for that donation. So I said that the Chi that created us, we are one with it. We are one. We are a manifestation of this same spark, the same spirit. And here we are together. We are of one heart, and this Oji is what we use to represent the oneness of hearts. Otu Uche, oneness of mind or oneness of wisdom. Now Uche is very unique in the in ancestral thought because Uche goes beyond wisdom, right? It's often translated Ise Motadi. So I'm sorry, Motadi Uto. I love the name. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So Uche goes beyond wisdom. Uche is not just like you guys translate it as wisdom often, but Uche is like a okay, so Uche has two parts, right? So there's a saying that says Uche wapa, something like that. Like Uche is like a bag, or Uche is a bag. It is the bag by which we receive wisdom that is beyond us, wisdom from the Creator, a wisdom that is referred to as Abia, right, or Abiyama, right? So that when the Creator has something he wants to show us, if we have Uche is that bag by which that thing can be dropped. It is the open hand that we can receive wisdom from the cosmos and the Creator. Now, what is particularly interesting about that is that if you think about it, Uche, which is also a way of saying wisdom, is an open mind, right? Uche is an open mind. And what falls into Uche, then we can call it Uche, whatever. But it is an open mind, right? So Madubuche, you understand, is a person who is wise. So when I said that we are of one mind, I mean that we're receiving from the same thing. Our ancestors visualized wisdom almost like a watering hole, a watering hole that all things come to and drink from and receive water from, but it is shared by all. It is a universal consciousness and a universal wisdom that is available for anybody whose bag is open for receiving it, that type of thing. So, but yeah, so I said that we are of one Uche. We are of one Uche. We're of one heart. We're of one mind. We are on one journey, and that is the journey that the Creator created us to walk on Earth. And I said it was going to be like this on the 4 days. Eke, Urie, Uche, Bwapa. Hold on. Yes, Uche Bwapa, Onyabola Murunke. Exactly. So Uche is like a bag. Everybody carries their own. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So I said it was gonna be on all 4 days. Eke, Uri, Afo, and Unko, Ise, and then of course you guys received it, and then somebody sent a very generous donation, which was awesome. So moving on to today's topic. So as I was saying earlier, this particular topic, right? Chica Dibia, Erica Guy. You said, did I miss what Erica Guy said, are you Erica Guy? He said, okay, I don't know, but yeah. So, anyways, this particular topic, Chica Dibia. The chi is greater than the Dibia. The chi is greater than the Dibia, right? The wisdom you receive from your chi is greater than the wisdom you receive from a Dibia, right? And this particular discussion is not to knock down anybody who's a Dibia or to dismiss what they have to offer to the world, right? Because when we talk about that bag, that bag, a person who is a Dibia is a person whose bag is open and ready to receive. That's the difference between a Dibia and everybody else. Earlier, I referred to that wisdom as Abia, right? Abia, Di Abia, which is a master of Abia, a person who has mastered the process of receiving wisdom from beyond the self, from the higher mind, the universal mind, which is Agun, right? Is capable of receiving at a level higher than the people around them. Or maybe say if we're visualizing bags, their bag just happens to be a little bigger and a little deeper. And it is like that for a reason, right? So what often happens is these individuals become guides for the people around them because that is their purpose in the world. They were born to be that thing. So that if you are created with a bag that is more capable of receiving, perhaps it is bigger, it is deeper, it is more receptive or more open than everybody else's, that is a sign that you are supposed to use what you are receiving to serve those who are not inclined like you are or who do not have that particular bag the way you have it, right? Everything in Igbo cosmology is based off a principle of equilibrium, right? So that when something is very high in one place, it is supposed to pour down to where it is low till we reach balance with each other. The things you receive in the world, right? You receive them for a reason. If you are tall, there is a reason you are tall, right? If you are short, there is a reason you are short. Anything you have in abundance, there's a reason for that. And once you have that thing in abundance as a person, you become a custodian of that thing. You're the holder of that thing. And you're not necessarily supposed to use that thing for yourself, but rather for those who do not have it. So let's say you're very tall, then maybe you're here to protect the people that are very short, right? Maybe you have a very loud voice, then you're probably supposed to speak for those who do not have the same voice that you have, right? Maybe you're very attractive, I don't know, different ways to balance these different things. But either way, all of those things, the things you are given in excess belong to the world around you. It's not just for you, right? It's not just for you. There was a story that I shared in the last group study about Law Asajo. It's a story from the Nsukka area, and it's about how the market system was created. And I'm not going to tell the story now because it's going to be in the next video, which is the 4 market days, which is taking forever because I've been in the process of moving for like months, and no, it's not an excuse, or I'm not making it as an excuse, but I've been in the process of moving for a few months, so like everything has just been jumbled and so forth, but it's on the way. But in that particular video, I share the story as well, so we'll wait till the video comes to share that story. But in essence, her ability to produce more than the people around her ended up creating the market system, what we call the market system. And it was finally kicked off when she decided to use this gift to bless the people around her, right? And so that's how things work in Igbo cosmology. Whatever it is you have a lot of, you are a custodian of that thing, you use it for other people. Otherwise, it turns against you. Now, earlier I was speaking about the Dibia being a person who's more capable of receiving wisdom from beyond the self, right, than the average person, And but if a Dibia uses that particular gift to, I guess, harm the people around them, right? Or service themselves, that gift will turn against the Dibia and destroy that Dibia, right? Some people refer to it as arag, right? You lose your mind. That means I don't want to give it a U.S. kind of DSM-4 diagnosis, but you lose your mind. You end up losing your mind. You end up losing your senses. Those gifts you were given to use in service of the world now turn against you, so that they become a problem for you, right? That type of thing. And one of the things, like I've been doing one-to-ones for the past few months, and like it's been a really great experience. But one of the things I tell people that have like, extra sensory abilities and things like that is you have to externalize it. You have to learn how to use it for the world beyond you. But if you use it to put a lens on yourself, you're going to tear yourself apart, that kind of thing. So, and so far so good, one person returned back to me and talked to me about how it was good advice and things like that. So that's awesome. But yeah, Chica Dibia. So then if a Dibia is a person who is more capable of receiving than, let's call it, the average person, why then do we have a phrase like Chica Dibia? Chica Dibia. Okay. So this is in essence what it is. That is awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. So in ancestral thought, and ancestral philosophy, especially when it comes to things like learning and wisdom and the self and so forth, right? Nothing supersedes your chi in knowing. Nothing supersedes your chi in knowing. In Igbo cosmology or in ancestral thought, there is no capital T truth, right? People don't believe in a capital T truth. And this means that the way you see things is the way you are supposed to see things. And somebody else is going to see things very differently from you. And it's okay. And if you guys encounter each other, you're supposed to encounter each other for a reason. But there's never supposed to be a situation where you try to impose your truth on other people as a capital T truth. I have my truth. You have your truth, this person has their truth, that type of thing. Together, all of these little truths create a larger truth, right? A larger truth that is beyond the comprehension of an individual, because otherwise it would be your truth, right? That type of thing. They create this larger truth, but every single person has their own truth, and that's okay, right? The understanding of Odinani, or one of the main understandings of Odinani, is not how things are, but it is how to navigate in a world where things are different, right? So my truth and your truth are different. How can we sit down and make something work? How can we reach agreement? How can we do things together? That type of thing. You understand? Like, let's look at the concept of the awful. If for example, like every single community is going to have its laws. They're going to have its own sacred laws, right? So if there's anybody that ever says this is the things that are against Igbo culture, that person's just, that person's just talking. There's no such thing as against Igbo culture. Every single land is going to have its different laws, because every single land made a separate agreement with, or a group of people made a separate agreement with the land that they are standing on. And that agreement that they made is the Iwu Ala, the law of the land. And that is their Igbo culture. But if I cross over into another community, they're going to have their own Igbo culture, and that's okay, right? It was never supposed to be a thing where everybody is just kind of following the same mold, same situation, because we understand that they created a truth. Once you make a pact with an awful, once two people agree on something, that creates a truth. That creates a truth, and then we can use that truth to build upon. But the people who didn't make that agreement with each other do not share that truth. That is not their truth, right? So for example, I'm in this apartment complex. There's a lease I signed. That is a truth between me and the apartment. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Yes, they probably signed the same lease, similar leases, so on and so forth, but they all have their separate truths and that type of thing, right? So our ancestral belief, there is no capital T truth. Now, why am I emphasizing this particular thing? Because what is important to you is your truth, right? Is your specific truth. It is not the truth that you believe will be shared over every, like, as an over encompassing truth, that type of thing. It is your specific truth. And the only person or thing or force or energy that holds and knows your specific truth is your chi, right? And a skilled Dibia is a person who has the capacity to ask your chi what's going on, to inquire with your chi as far as what's going on, to get answers from your chi, that type of thing. There's a saying in Igbo, there's an ilu that says, Madu Arashi Ajuchi. You understand? As in, if you ask an Arashi, if you go to an Arashi and ask for an answer, or Madu or Arashi Ajuchi, if you go to an Arashi and ask for answers, that Arashi is going to turn around and ask your chi, hey, what? So this person's trying to talk about what was going on, that kind of thing, right? The Arashi is going to ask you your chi for the answer. If you go to a Dibia and talk to a Dibia, the Dibia is going to implore your chi for the answer, right? So S jubble S shit. Okay, yeah. I mean, they're not wrong. Yes, their truth. Yeah. It's that kind of thing, right? So each person has their truth, and that truth is held and created and owned by their chi. It is their chi. That truth is your chi. Your truth is your chi. That type of thing, right? To align with your chi is to align with your truth. To align with your chi is to align with your truth, right? So what you run into with the phrase Chica Dibia is something that is very essential to ancestral thought. And it is the fact that every individual is a sovereign. Every individual is an individual. And you are going to gain a lot more learning how to listen to your chi than from learning how to listen to the external world, or learning how to listen to a wise. When they say Dibia, they don't specifically, I mean, yeah, you could mean a specific Dibia, but a Dibia is just anybody who is an expert in something, or a wise person in a specific area, right? So sometimes you'll go somewhere, like you'll go to a Dibia. Dibia will tell you something, and then you go, I don't know if that's true. Well, that's your chi saying that. Your chi said nope. If you agreed, your chi, because your chi already agreed with that thing. You understand? So it's like this. Let me put it this way. Have you ever wanted to make a decision and then you flip a coin and it lands on the one you don't want and they go, no, you flip it again, right? That's what 99.9% of answer seeking is in the world, right? Is that you go somewhere and you want something external to confirm what's already inside. And if it doesn't confirm what's already inside, you get up and leave and you go ask somebody else. Well, why do you need to keep doing the external game, right? If I say, what do I want to do? Do I want to go home and eat, or do I want to stop at Starbucks and get a sandwich? And I flip the thing and it says go home and eat, and then I flip it again. I already knew what it was, right? I already had my answer. But for some reason, this coin needs to validate me, right? Which is fine. If that's how you make decisions, I actually think flipping a coin is a great way to make decisions. But if that's how you make decisions, that's fine, right? That or whatever. At the same time, right? It is important to understand that you already knew that truth. The truth is already in there. And when you seek all these other places, and by the way, I'm saying this as somebody whose profession is coming and teaching people, right? But it's my chi that sent me to do this, so it doesn't matter what I say, I'll be fine, right? So the external thing, that external person or thing that you seek in order to validate what is already inside, is not 100% necessary. And sometimes you have to ask yourself, why do I need the external thing to continuously validate what is inside? Why do we seemingly become unaware of our chi? That's a very good question. If anybody has an answer, throw it in there. I think that there are multiple right answers to this, but the answer that is coming to me is that I think we live in a world that tells us that there are hierarchies of existence, right? There are hierarchies of existence, and that you start at the bottom, and you're as life goes, you're climbing, and you're getting there, and then as you're climbing, you need these different gatekeepers to let you to validate you so that you can be that person. Da 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 da. So once you're of that mentality, that learning comes from outside, that self comes from outside, that truth comes from outside, all these that the outside world is impacting you more than the inside world. You start listening to the outside world more. And it's like part of normal growing up in just period. You start listening to the outside world more. And before you know it, you kind of don't even know what your chi sounds like. You don't know what that thing. And then when you do hear it, you're inclined to not feel like it's legitimate. You're inclined to not feel like it's legitimate. So it's I think a lot of it is social conditioning. Um, well, what would be another one? So I think social conditioning and just not being having the courage to accept yourself as complete, right? To accept that I need all these other things out there to complete me. If I get in this relationship, this will complete me. If I get this will complete. No, you're complete. Now, with your completion, you can now do onto the world and benefit the world and do the things or not benefit the world if your chi brought you to be, that kind of guy or girl. But I can go out in the world now. I can now start acting. Don't need to do this perpetual building that I believe I need to do. I'm fine as is. Let me just go out and just start doing the thing. And in fact, if I start walking on the journey, I'll encounter what I need to encounter on the way if there are other things that need to complete me, so on and so forth, right? That type of thing. Oh, that's the okay. Thank you, Snapple and Cass. Appreciate that. But yeah, and that's what that is. That's what that is. It comes. I think it comes from the conditioning of just how we interpret things in the modern world. Um, and this is such a hard sell, but it's like such to me it's like a very revolutionary idea, and it's a very powerful idea because it like on a personal level, it has helped me tremendously. It has helped me tremendously, and I've looked back at every single time I've made the right decision. It was under that pretense. It was under the pretense of I have what it takes. I'm just go do it, that kind of thing. I always made the right decision, but there were situations where I found myself stuck in different types of what I would call bondage because I didn't feel like, okay, I'm not ready yet, or I'm not, I don't know enough, or I'm not experienced enough, or I'm not that type of person yet. So let me do this first and then do that first. And 7, 8 years later, I'm not even where I'm supposed to be. Had I just gone into the thing, then fine. But maybe that thing wasn't of my chi. That's why it didn't resonate that way. That's fine. I could, looking back at it now, the situation I'm speaking of, yes, that was the case. But time was wasted thinking that the outside was going to complete what was already inside, right? That type of thing. So the phrase Chica Dibia is something that our ancestors and even contemporary people say to remind people to ask their chi first or to go to their chi first. Seek your chi first. Look inside. Look at yourself, right? Familiarize yourself with your truth. Another one of the reasons that I think Snap on Cats, you had asked this question, and maybe I'm going to say your question wrong, but you were asking more or less, and I'd answer it, but there was another thing that just came to me. You were asking more or less like how people kind of like lose that connection or what causes the loss of that particular thing. I think another one of them, the things that cause that is the concept of ego, right? So ego, a lot of people think ego is just like kind of being like false, like almost like a false pride. I think false pride can be a part of ego, but ego is not entirely false pride. I think ego is the you that you made up in your head, right? Is the you that you made up in your head. And you've been making up this person since you were probably 7 years old, right? Realistically, 7 years old. And you've been adding on to it and adding on to it. And very rarely do you take things out. Do people take things out of that ego construct they have of themselves, right? And that thing is not necessarily wrong. It's not like, I'm not saying some of these things and then like, oh, that's the good thing, this is the bad thing. This is just what it is, and then you can apply it how you want to. Because sometimes you can use the process of ego to get yourself to somewhere that ordinarily you wouldn't get yourself to, right? Like I was saying, I'm kind of spilling the bag on myself, but I was saying earlier with like at Kedu, we have everybody say that they speak Igbo, right? I speak Igbo, because that thing will ingrain it into that thing, that ego part of you, that this person, Derek, is a person that speaks Igbo, and that's actually how you start learning. That's how you start learning, right? A child, you never. A 4-year-old child is not going to tell you they don't speak English, right? A 4-year-old, let's say American child, is not going to tell you they can't. Even though with the little English they know, I mean, an immigrant that knows a little more than that is not considered somebody that can speak English. But whatever is coming out of my mom's mouth and my dad's mouth, I do that thing too. And that's how the learning process begins, right? Why? Because it's in the ego. So you're constructing this ego from when you're little, and you're doing it throughout life. You have situations where it gets checked and you adjust it, so on and so forth. But sometimes, for most people, you forget that that thing you're constructing, you're constructing your head is fake, right? And a lot of times you're beholden to it. You understand? So that if I believe, oh, I'm this type of person, or I'm a person that doesn't do this, or if I do this, it's going to look that way and it won't match my ego. It won't match my ego. Different from your chi. If I do this thing that is of my chi, it won't match my ego. It won't match this construct of self that I put together, that I'm primarily used to protect myself from my truth, right? So you're using this ego, you're hiding from your truth, you're using it to hide from your truth, that type of thing. And remember, you've been constructing it since you're little. So a lot of the ideas tied to that thing are very immature and outdated. They're very immature and outdated, but you're holding on to this thing because maybe you think that's you. And then all of a sudden, maybe you have these situations, or maybe you make the decision to say, I'm going to put that thing over here and I'm going to move accordingly, right? I'm going to move in this direction and see what that goes, because this direction feels true to me. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that was a construct. I put that thing together maybe to protect myself, maybe because I didn't know better, maybe because it felt good, and because it's a natural part of a functional human mind. There's nothing wrong with it, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Like if you're about to go play basketball, it would help you greatly to start believing yourself to be a person who plays basketball well, even if you don't. Oh, I'm a good basketball player. You know, hey, my name is Derek. I'm a good basketball player. That kind of thing. Just keep saying it over and over and over and over. You'll be shocked at how that'll affect you. You understand? It'll be shocked at how it'll affect you. But it's like tinkering with ego. It's using ego in a constructive way. You know, one of the things I try to avoid doing, because I know that in the West, everything always has to be in a good or bad box. And I think it comes from like Christian thinking, right? Everything has to be of God or of the devil. You understand? Now, the way our ancestors saw things, things are. You can use something, like you can use a rock to somehow help somebody, right? Maybe to build a home for somebody, or you can use a rock to break someone's head. But the rock itself has no static moral value. It has no capital T truth. It is a thing that is applied in many ways, right? So when I'm bringing up these concepts, I say something like ego. I don't want people to think, oh, ego bad, right? A lot of what makes you function as a human being is ego. Like recently, I made a vow during Onwa Ifeke, which is the moon that we're in. I made a pact with myself to learn how to box. You understand? I made a pact with myself to learn how to box. One of the things that is helping me in that process is ego, right? So for example, I had gained like more weight than I was comfortable with, because in my ego I'm shaped a certain way, right? In my ego, I'm shaped a certain way, and if I don't look or feel or weigh that way, I don't feel like myself. Like, oh, I'm feeling kind of big right now, or sometimes, oh, I feel really small. But my ego told me that my truth is, this is what you weigh. This is what you weigh. This is how well you can move. This is how well you can move. This is how athletic you are. This is that kind of, my truth is what it is, right? But then my ego says, my truth will say, this is how athletic you are. Then my ego will say, no, I'm over here, right? And sometimes that ego function is a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Because that's the thing that says, I'm slipping. Let me get back to normal. Or let me get back to my place. You understand? But again, that place isn't necessarily your truth. Your truth is what it is, right? That kind of thing. And so, yeah. So ego is not, when I say ego, I don't mean like, it's not, oh, get rid of your ego. Get rid of that. Oh, kind of new agey mentality. No, your ego is not your enemy. It's like blinking. It's a functional part of a human existence, and that's fine. But being aware of what it is, knowing that it's fake, right? Knowing that it's not real, right? I'm wearing this shirt. There's nothing wrong with this shirt, but I'm aware that this shirt's something I put on myself, right? I don't actually think it's sprouting from me. I don't think it's real. Like it's me. If this thing gets thrown in the trash and doesn't exist, it won't change me as a human being. You understand? Now, if you don't have a healthy relationship with ego, like the shirt you put on, you might start thinking that this is actually you. And if you're not wearing this shirt, you're not yourself, right? So that's what that is. But yeah, as far as the phrase Chica Dibia, your chi is the one that knows your truth. A good Dibia is good at getting close to your truth, right? But it's your chi that ultimately knows. It's your chi that ultimately knows. Now, why did I want to have this topic? So, me and my Igbo 2 teacher, my Igbo 2 teacher is very advanced as far as his understanding and his application of Odinani Ndibo in his own life and that type of thing. So, we have great conversations. And we were talking about this habit that's happening as of recent where people are like, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that I'm trying to remember how he put it. He said, "Ndi omenala shiri ụka abịa," like traditionalists who just came from church, right? So there's this idea in the church that in order to get to your chi, you have to go through the structure of the church. So you go through, your pastor is going to bring you to your chi because your pastor is closer to your chi than you are, right? And then your or let me put it this way, pastor is going to bring you closer to Jesus because Jesus is closer to your chi than both of you. And Jesus is ultimately going to bring you to your chi, or maybe Jesus is your chi, depending on your denomination, that kind of thing, right? So oftentimes when we say, oh, I don't believe in this religion anymore, I'm not Christian anymore, I'm not Muslim anymore, I'm not whatever, and I'm a traditionalist, I'm onyogo more, I'm gonna follow, I'm a spiritualist, that kind of thing. We take that structure, right? That ethical structure that we learned growing up from beginning, you're going to seminary school and Sunday school and that whole hoopla, and you're walking out with that. You're saying, oh, I don't want to do this. But you're keeping the same scaffolding, right? So you enter this traditional framework and you're now just trying to take traditional things and fit it into the predetermined holes that were dug, or the scaffolding that was already set up by the church. You just stripped it of its decorations and maybe drywall if you're in America, right? But in essence, right, the scaffolding is still Christian. The scaffolding of your mind is still Christian. Like a lot of the thinking in, like, of course I'm in the United States. A lot of the thinking in the United States, this is a post-Christian country. Most people are not particularly religious in this country, but the way of thinking is still very Christian. The Christian scaffolding is still in place, and everything always falls into that battle of good and evil kind of mentality that a Christian has, right? Everything is us versus them, battle of good and evil. Look, there's the Messiah, there's the Savior, that kind of thing. The scaffolding is still there, right? So a lot of people will take that scaffolding of Christianity and bring it over. And the person they always put in the pastor seat that they threw out the pastor, and instead of getting rid of that seat too, because that seat has no belonging in our traditional belief, they go and put the dibia where the pastor used to be. And a lot of DBS love this because they have never had this kind of authority ever, historically, ever, where somebody will just go and sit down, just be listening, and just like they'll just be telling people things up and down and oh, that kind of thing. So a lot of people have created the situation where they are intellectually dependent on a dibia, or intellectually dependent on like someone like myself who like teaches and things like that, right? And I never want to replicate that situation, especially with what I'm doing, right? I'm going to tell you things and then you're going to need to discern whether I'm full of shit or whether I'm making sense, right? And this is how it should be with every single thing because you have a truth, right? What I'm saying has to match your truth for you to call it truth, for us to say, okay, we're both speaking the truth. And if it doesn't, that's okay. It's not supposed to. It's not supposed to, right? I never want to duplicate this process by which people shut their brain off and like, okay, the pastor is going to be the one that talks. Someone was telling me that back in the day that only the pastor in Nigeria was the only one allowed to touch the Bible, right? That only the pastor can touch the Bible, that if you touch it, you'd be in trouble, that kind of thing. We were talking about how it seems like people are now like questioning a lot of what they grew up with. And so we were talking about a lot of ridiculous things. And there was this belief in some churches that only a pastor can touch the Bible or only the priest. I don't know which church guy went to, that kind of thing, right? And so I don't want that scaffolding carried over into the traditional framework because to me, the most powerful thing in our ancestral beliefs is the fact that I'm trying to think of the exact ilu. Um, Uwabo mado na chia, that the universe is you and your chi, right? And I don't want a bunch of little characters in the middle, like, oh, you want to talk to your chi? Okay, come to me. Check this book out. Check this book out. Da 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 da. Okay, this and this and that. You don't. That's never gonna happen. Now, if you need, and one of the reasons I'm really saying this too is I would love to see Dibia's return to scientific work, right? Quit trying to replace the pastor. Quit trying to be the pastor. Oh, synagogue of Omenala. Uh, 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 Omenala evangelist. Okay, we have enough of the Christians are doing that better than you. They're the best at doing that, right? On earth. They're phenomenal at it, right? That's their thing. You're never going to beat them at that. So I would love to see you guys return to scientific work. I'd love to see you guys being the ones that invent and bring things into the world, right? Rather than trying to replace something that actually has no reason to be anymore, right? It's not functioning. The people that brought it to you are not using it. Imagine I'm serving food to everybody, and then I sit down and I order takeout and watch you guys eat this. Because that's what's going on, right? I would love DBS to return to scientific work too, absolutely. And you know what's funny? The people actually doing scientific work are DBS. Now, they don't call themselves that, but the people that call themselves DBS, some of them are doing scientific work fine. I'm not taking that away. Like most DBS are really good at what they do, right? I'm not discrediting them, but there's a lot of them that want to replace the pastor, right? Where I'm the source of answers because I'm closer to your chi than you are. I'm the source of the answers. I'm the one that's close to your chi. Oh, you want to know something about your chi? Okay, come talk to me. I had somebody telling me, or not telling me, it was kind of like in a group chat, that you need a Dibia to teach you how to set up your altar, right? That is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life. Why do I think it's asinine? Because once upon a time, there was a time where, let's say, a community of 20,000, every single person was setting up an altar, or every single family was. I mean, if they didn't believe, some people didn't believe even then, right? But everybody was setting up their own altar, right? So, and very few people are devious. It's not that like half of society is devious. Let's say if there's 200 people, one might be a devia, right? That kind of thing. And this person was going to everybody's house and then having them set up altars, that kind of thing. Now, remember, the altar is set up. I'm growing up in this house. I've seen my fathers, I've seen my mothers, I've seen my uncles, I've seen my grandfathers. Now I need to go find somebody to teach me how to set up my own. Why? Okay, so I set up a kitchen, right? Who taught me how to do that? Nobody. I lived in a household that had a kitchen. It just came naturally. Or I set it up the way that made sense to me, right? That kind of thing. That you need a DBA to set up your altar. Just all these kind of like dependency problems. And it's like, if anybody sets up your altar for you, you're not actually setting up the altar. Like, you're not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, right? Which is representing the inner you, giving a physical form to the inner you that you can look at and remind yourself that I'm beyond what you're looking at. I'm bigger than this, right? That kind of thing. You need somebody else to do it, then you're not bigger than you. Then you're not bigger than that thing, right? So there's a place for there's absolutely a place for DBAs, but this thing where people are replacing DBAs with pastors is not good. It's not what your ancestors did. And when I say ancestors, like my family never really converted to Christianity like that. Like they're not super like spiritual either. We're just kind of secular people, right? But at the same time, I saw these things live. I saw this culture played out live. I never saw a situation where an adult, like a man that owns a house, will call somebody in to teach him how to build. Crazy, right? But if you go to the church, you get these grown men. They're calling this guy, oh, daddy. They're calling another. And for Americans, in Nigerian churches, pastors want you to call them daddy. It's normal there. It's normal. Like, you get these adult men talking about my daddy, daddy, daddy. Please don't bring that over. Please don't bring that over here. Because that's not what it is at all. That's not what it is at. That's not what we're doing over here at all. So no, Chica Dibia, right? You go to a Dibia if the question is beyond your capacity. Okay, why is my leg inflamed? Why am I not able to have children? Why Or how do I heal my broken rib? So on and so on and so forth. You can then go to a Dibia for these things. I keep seeing this particular person in this dream, and I know this is important, right? I keep seeing these visions. What's going on? Okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine. But like, I'm gonna go to a Dibia to learn about Odinani Ndibo, right? No. There was a survey in Akwa Ibom State, and it said that 30% of DBAs in this particular community, it was an Igbo community in Akwa Ibom State, 30% of DBAs in that community were Catholic, right? So, and it doesn't mean that they're fake DBAs. You can be a DBA and be a Muslim. It's not. It's the Islam that'll have the problem with it, not the Odinani and Igbo. You understand? Because you're a scientist. Doesn't matter what your religion is, right? You're a scientist. You know, I wish I can see the chats. People had said things while I was like ranting, and I can't see nothing. You got here. Aha, there it is. Right. I love the ancestors embrace the balance between following tradition, but honoring self and respecting your chi within. And let me even go a step further that following the tradition is honoring yourself. Orobanje often debia, some are, some aren't. I'm of the opinion, and this is my opinion, I'm of the opinion that most Obanje are not into spirituality, right? I'm of that opinion because I just left the spiritual world. I'm coming here to do some cool shit. I'm not here to talk. I'm trying to go platinum. I want to get a big house. I want to eat candy. I want to do something cool. A lot of Obanje are really into evangelical churches. This. I've had two DBS say this actually. A lot of Obanje are into evangelical. I kid you not. A lot of them are into evangelical churches. They're into that's just their thing. They like it. You understand? Something about it connects with them. A lot of people that like, for example, a lot of people who are married from water are prolific at being pastors. They're very good at being pastors, right? They have the gift for it, right? And if you, again, I think I said this in the last one, if you know how to identify onyeme and you start looking at pastors and the kind of particular things about them, you're like, oh, that's why you all have perms. Nigerian pastors are the best at evangelizing to people. They say it, the blood of Jesus is enthralled. Right, right, right. That's why people look at pastors in the West, this and that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so you're right about our Christian scaffolding. Many of us can't trust our chi because Christianity taught us our desires will literally lead us to hell. Thank you. Hi, Isabel. Where Chi? You get the wonderful, wonderful. A lot of that is Christianity, right? Because it's external. Everything true is external, right? Heaven is this physical place I go to up there. Like once I die, I start floating up and I go there and then finally I can be with Jesus and that kind of thing. And, or whatever, or that the truth is over there. It's not with me. I don't have any say in it. In fact, everything about me is worldly and nasty and sinful and wrong. And then, of course, why would I then listen to myself? At that point, why would I listen to myself? Maybe I should listen to that pastor. He's closer to the sky than me. After all, when I go to church, he's on the podium and I'm below. So yeah, of course he's higher. Let me go talk to him, right? Okay, he knows everything. I'm listening and listening, listening, listening. Oh, okay. If I was trying to, if I was trying to control a group of people, why wouldn't I throw that book at? Why would I say, peep this, check this out, And then from there, see what happens afterwards. That kind of thing. So, what trickster spirits can teach us about good and bad, they are often portrayed as bad because they don't always give you what you ask for. Absolutely, Isabel. It's funny because you're bringing up boxing because me and my dad just watched Muhammad Ali documentary. Might be my favorite, more positive example of ego. Absolutely, absolutely, right? Those pesky Obanje sound like trolls. Yeah, I mean like internet trolls. Yeah, they're like. Yeah, kinda. I can see it. Like we're all like, let's say we all go to a website and we're here to talk about cats, and then somebody comes in just to annoy us and talk about how he doesn't like cats. That's in a internet way. That's kind of the cosmic nature of an Obanje. You're just coming in to do your own thing. You're not with the program. You're not moving with the program, right? But that own thing is Ndi Mmiri are not harmful, right? They are very peaceful people. So that own thing is not like coming to do like bad stuff to people. You're gonna hurt. Maybe you'll hurt a lot of feelings down the way because they don't get why the hell you're like the way you are. But you're not. You don't mean harm. You know. You're just coming there to, you know, do something cool. You know. Ah. Wait, cause little, I don't know. You'd have to ask Lil Nas X. There's a 1J group on Facebook. Ross, I didn't know there were Obanje groups on Facebook, but if there are, I mean, if you go in there, I'm sure there's a pattern, right? He's an internet troll. He does. I think every successful musician has to be an internet troll now, right? I think every successful musician is somehow, some way an internet troll. Some are more covert, right? Some are more covert about it. Some are more obvious about it, but it's like why in the end of the day, it's an attention game, right? And so, who gets more attention than a troll? So, most successful musicians are trolling somehow, some way, and it's just that's just their job, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that was a funny comment, though. I think I might be a Manji. I'm an agent of chaos. No, Manji doesn't just mean you're an agent of chaos. It might seem chaotic to everybody else, but you know why you're doing what you're doing, right? You know, like that kind of thing. You know why you're gonna go. You know why you're trying to go platinum. You know. I think there was an analogy I was using earlier for Obanje, and it's like a person that sneaks into a club, right? So like there's a club going on, and maybe this guy sneaks in a club because he specifically wants to see girls, right? And then maybe a person corners him, starts talking about football. Man, did you see the last football game? This guy's like, man, what the fuck? And they're like, what's wrong with that guy? No, dude, he's here to see girls, and he's got a limited time, and there's people looking for him, and that kind of thing. And if he gets caught, he's gonna run off and go. That kind of thing. That's the same thing with that particular spirit. Yeah, that's the same thing with that particular spirit. But yeah, Chica Dibia, Chica Dibia. So I don't want to create, or not me creating, but I don't want to take part in creating this like transference of the Christian scaffolding into our ancestral beliefs. This idea that somebody is your daddy, this idea that you are complete through listening to somebody else, right? This idea that it's a bunch of discussions. Yeah, yeah. Um, like I said, I don't think Obanje are into spiritual. I have a cousin who I have two cousins. I have two cousins who like it's pretty obvious, and one of them like will tell you, she is. And we're having a conversation. Oh, God, I don't know if I can say this. I don't. I have a cousin who, like, she doesn't care what anybody thinks at all, and she's kind of out there, but like if somebody makes her mad, like a guy makes her mad, she'll try to embarrass them by saying, "Swear to God, we didn't sleep together last night" in front of people. She'll like swear to God we didn't. She'll just keep saying this, and the person will be freaking out. Like, leave you. Who are you? Like, leave me alone. Like, if somebody like makes her mad, that was one of the ways that she used to like troll them. That kind of thing. But that's not why I think she's in that category. There's other reasons. Very into evangelical churches too. Like when I heard the description, I was like, oh my God, yeah, completely. But very very cool, very cool. We used to not get along when we were younger because I was kind of a tight ass and she was very like goofy, or not goofy, but just bizarre, in my perception. But looking back at it, she was just cool, man, and I wasn't ready for that level of cool. But yeah, very funny cousin of mine. Then I have another one, but yeah, but yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Obanje are hilarious. But yeah, Chica Dibia. I don't want to see the transference of what most people don't like about Christianity. A lot of people say, "Oh, this is not a religion. This is spirituality. It's not a religion. It's spirituality." Okay, fine. And I understand that there is a difference, and the difference is real. But I think what they're actually saying is this is not a place where you come to have somebody tell you how to think. This is a place where you improve your ability to think and perceive and feel for yourself and trust yourself and get in tune with yourself and who you are and become more full in who you are, right? You're the Bible. Because, oh, there should be an Odinani Bible. You're the Odinani. I'm my Odinani Bible, right? Like, if you want to put it in that way, I'm my guide, right? I have to get better at being who I am. I have to get better at being truer to my truth because there's a reason my truth was brought into the world by my chi, right? And that's what I'm or who I'm going to implore when I need to know a little bit more. But in essence, I already know. I already know who I am. I already know who I'm supposed to be. All of you, you already know who you are. You already know who you're supposed to be. You know what's true to you. You know the path you are brought into the world to walk. You know these things. Maybe you don't believe that it's valid. Maybe you don't have faith in it. Maybe you don't see it as immediately rewarding, right? You think, okay, there's that, but the grass is greener over there, right? I knew I was supposed to teach. I've known this for a long time. If I didn't know it, my every impulse and being and person inclines me towards teaching. Whenever I do something well, I used to think, oh, I can do this well, I can do that well, I can do that well. The thing I'm doing well within it is teaching. You understand? And I'll do that. I'll teach in it. Like, for example, I was initially studying psychology in college, right? And I was like, oh no, they don't make enough money, and I want to be cool. And there's a bunch of cool technology stuff going on, so I'm gonna get into tech. I'm gonna get into tech. So I jumped into it. I had nothing in common with these people, and none of it really resonated with me like that. I'm into like ideas and inventions and things like that. And I kept convincing myself that they lock hand in hand, but you get into these companies and it's just like, oh, you're also selling people a giant Excel sheet with like an interface that makes it look like some fancy app, right? That kind of thing. I just kept seeing that over and over. And but of course, that's a hard transition. So I was like, okay, I'll go into sales first because I was of the idea that maybe I'm good at that. And I was doing very good at that. But it wasn't that I was, and then I left that particular space to go do it somewhere else. And I realized I'm actually not good at that at all. I'm not good at sales at all, right? And the reason that it worked was in this technology space is because in order to sell technology, all you're doing is teaching. You're teaching a new concept to somebody who's not familiar with it. And if you can teach it well enough, they have very little reason to say no because, of course, it helps them solve their problem, right? So, but I was thinking it was all these other things because I didn't want to believe it was teaching because I didn't want to be a teacher. I was like, I'm not a teacher, right? That kind of thing, right? But I always knew, I always knew, you know. And so I'm teaching in the capacity that I like, that I'm comfortable with, and so forth, right? I'm not rushing the process. I'm not pressuring myself one way or another. This is what I love to do. I'm doing it, that kind of thing. That's what it is. Chica Dibia. I can go to a Dibia and ask them, oh, what should you do? You should teach. Oh, okay, yeah, duh. If you told me I was supposed to be in MMA, I'd be like, right? And that's why they say Chica Dibia. Because if I asked my chi would have told me, you know what it is. There you go, live chat. I think so. Always been drawn to training and teaching jobs. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, me too, me too. When I was in psychology as well, like I was doing very well in that space. But one of the things that was helping me was because you're a teacher in that space. You're teaching people. You're teaching people, and so that was what was helping me in that space. That type of thing. But how do you know when your chi is speaking versus your ego? Good question. Analogy is hilarious. Apology is hilarious. Cool, 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 cool. Spirituality seems like a lost science, to be honest. Yes. There's an analytical way and method to process the unseen everyday problems. It's just where are the methods? Now, you guys are asking good ass questions. So Isabel says, how do you know it's your chi and your ego? I think, let me think before I give an answer to that. I think there comes a time in life and situations in life where you start peeling, like realizing what part of you is your ego and what isn't, right? Like I was saying earlier with like weight, right? There's a certain like if I start feeling parts of my body touch each other that naturally don't touch, I don't feel like myself, right? I don't feel like myself. I feel like something's off or something's wrong, right? Now the truth of it is you're bigger, the truth is you're bigger, but my ego says I weigh this much and I'm this shape and I am this size, right? And that kind of thing. So how do I put it this way? Your chi and your ego are not things that are divorced from each other, right? Because your chi it was part of what created your ego. They are not divorced from each other, but there are situations where you create parts of your ego that have nothing to do with that chi. You understand? So you have to. I think the way to understand the difference between them is you have to sit down with yourself, maybe in some type of isolation, and give yourself enough time to think about who you are and what's true to you and what resonates with you. And after some time, you're going to start seeing where one begins and one ends, right? Where one begins and one ends, which we don't get practice in doing that in the modern world because a lot of what we do is to avoid thinking, right? Maybe we're walking and we want to listen to something. We don't want to be in silence. We're always moving. We're always doing something. If there's nothing going on, we got to turn the TV on, that kind of thing. We don't want to think. But you have to stop and you have to actually give yourself a prolonged session where you have to think by force, right? And in that process, if you're focused on looking for what's true and what's not true, you'll begin to see the distinction. Another way to know is that the things that come from your chi have a resonance of their own, right? The things that come from your ego, you have to muster up the resonance. Now, what does this mean? There are things that you do when you have no obligation. Like if you were left alone, you begin doing that thing, right? If nobody has to ask you to do that thing. If somebody tells you, hey, you can get paid to do that thing, you'll be thinking, really? You're right. Because it just comes so naturally to you. It's not like something that you would even think has value, right? And I'll get to that in a minute. It's not even something that you would think has value because it comes so natural to you. It's who you are. It's an essence. It's part of your essence, right? But then there's those things where like you have to muster this extraordinary effort to sustain, right? The things that you have to muster that effort to sustain are not of your chi. They're not of your chi. The things that are of your chi flow out of you naturally. And it will look to everybody on the outside that you're mustering a lot of effort to do that thing, right? It's going to look like to them that you're mustering a lot of effort to do that thing. But to you, it's not going to feel like effort, right? So if it's of your chi to play basketball, you're going to practice excessively, but it's going to feel like fun, right? It's going to feel natural. That you're going to feel like if you're sitting around like, man, I want to practice, man, you know. But once you get like, once you start putting in that, like, once you decide, okay, maybe I want to do this thing, usually for a reason that's not completely what it is, right? I want to do this thing because maybe it'll look good, or people will look at me a certain way, or the men or women are into this and it's going to look a certain way for me. Fine, you start doing it. You have to start mustering this extraordinary effort to sustain, but then you're surrounded by people who this thing flows out of naturally, right? There are some people that you can't stop them from singing. That singing is of their chi, right? But then when they decide to tell themselves, okay, stop singing, this is not appropriate, that's their ego. Because what is appropriate? Appropriate is the assumption that there's a capital T truth. And in the house where that capital truth is held, somebody opened the window and said, stop singing. And since God told you to stop singing, you have to like make yourself stop, right? That kind of thing. So your absolute most natural state is of your chi. The state that flows out of you, the you that flows out of you naturally, that's of your chi, right? And then the where it starts becoming egos, where you have to start mustering effort. And when you have to start mustering effort, you have to look back at that thing and say, okay, why am I mustering this effort? Oh, I thought it was going to do this thing for me, and and I'm going to get this external reward, and so yada yada yada, that kind of thing, right? That type of thing. Which is weird because what I'm saying goes against a lot of like the hustle ethos, right? And I used to really believe in that nonsense. I used to really, really, really believe in that nonsense. For somebody growing up, their 20s, not particularly good at school, that ethos is very addictive. And I used to, you get the book and blah, 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 blah. Then you come to find the thing that ends up working is the thing that felt very effortless. And it's not that you're not putting in effort, but the effort doesn't feel like effort because it resonates so much. Because if somebody handed me a book on what I'm discussing right now that was this thick, give me 3 weeks. Give me 3 weeks, and it's completely done. If you would have handed me one of them IT books that I was trying to get into, okay, let me go get some more coffee. I'm trying to false resonance, drink coffee, I'm trying to create false resonance, right? Okay, I'm trying to simulate the feeling of the Ikenga, right? Okay, now that I'm simulating that thing, you know how there's certain environments you go through and you have to drink to be comfortable there. Then there's other places where you're alive and you're free and you don't have to take or drink anything, right? Those substances are going to simulate what you need your chi to make you feel like at that moment. So you're feeling the resonance or the warmth or the alertness, or you're feeling relaxed, like you're feeling like you're supposed to be in that place, or you're supposed to be that person, right? But then there's places you'll go to and you don't need those things, and you're just as alive or just as relaxed or whatever feeling it is that place is supposed to create, right? That is the differentiator. That is the differentiator. So find out whatever is easy for you and really look into that. Really, and then stop believing it has, even if it's watching Netflix, right? Even if it's these things that you were taught, because one of, again, back on, is it Snapple and Cats or Cats and Snapple? Snapple and Cats. I'm really glad you asked the question you asked, because one of the things, especially like in American culture, there's this idea that the things that don't take effort don't have value, right? And it is a like a proletariat kind of poor person ethos. It's part of the poverty ethos of Western Europe, right? Well, a lot of places in the world, but it's a poverty ethos that in order to the person who puts in a lot of effort is better, right? And effort is always strain. It's not like intelligent effort. It's strain, right? The person that strains more is better, right? Or the things that are good require a lot of strain. And then you look at the people that have the things that are good and they're not straining at all. And you look at the people who don't and they're straining a lot, right? And those people that are straining a lot, they have something that is natural to them that doesn't feel like strain, but because of that ethos, they believe that thing has no value, right? Oh, all I want to do is, I don't know, play with hair. It has no value, you know? What is that? Playing with hair, you know? Go ahead and do that thing. Watch what happens. Go ahead and do that thing, because if it comes from your chi, you'll be able to do it 10 times before you do the one thing that doesn't come from your chi. And that is what the ikenga is. When you're in alignment with your chi, it's almost like you're super, not like you're doing that thing at a higher level. A lot of the things, because again, it doesn't feel like strain. We're taught growing up that, okay, this class is important. Oh, we're in physics, so it's going to be really hard because physics is really smart. It's a smart people thing. Well, people who are smart, the thing they're smart about feels dumb. It feels simple, right? It's not complicated. It's not complicated at all, right? At all, you know? Like for me with history, right? I can talk about history all day and people think, oh, so smart. But it's like, if you can memorize a Netflix show, or if you can memorize Star Wars, or you know what's going on any movie, you can know the whole world's history. So it's such a big ass story, right? That's all it is. So it doesn't feel smart to me. You understand? But for some people, because it takes strain for them to do it, they are programmed to think, oh, that's the greater thing. That thing is greater because it strains. But they're good at math, but it's so easy. It's like, it's whatever. You know, me, I entered college with a book that said math. Like, and somebody said that today. Like, I think it was on a YouTube video or something. I watched. I was laughing. I was like, yeah, exactly. I'm not good at math. You know, that type of thing. You know, and it feels like strain. I always thought math was more valuable than things that I was good, like English and history and things like that. I always thought math was more valuable because I equated strain and value, right? I created strain and value, but the things that were of my chi were not valuable because I had the strength to do them, right? Which in essence, I'm saying that I'm not valuable. You understand? The things that are true to me are not valuable. Okay, then you're not valuable. I'm not valuable. And look at what they're doing over there. That's better because it's hard for me to do. You understand? That type of thing. And there's nothing wrong with challenging yourself, but challenge yourself in the thing that's true to you, right? Challenge yourself in the thing that is true to you, the thing that you were built to do. Like, let me put it this way: it is easier for a screw, or not a screw, how do you call those things? I'll try to think of a better tool. It is easier to knock a nail into a wall with a hammer than a spoon, right? But all the hammers in the world are looking at the spoon and saying, oh man, that thing can scoop food and put it in people's mouth. Wow, that's powerful. And all the spoons are saying, man, look at that thing. Just knock that hammer into that wall, man. Damn, that's it. No, man, be a spoon. I guess it's been a while. I guess it's been a while. Matifi, hey, welcome back. I remember the first time you were in here. A real question is who benefits from us thinking that we need strain to literally just be. Well, think of how many places where that concept is monetized. Snapple and cats. Good question again. Think of how many places where that concept is monetized, right? Because there was a time that the inventors in this country were not associated with the university system. There was a time where it was like that they oh he's not tenured, he's not with any university. There was a time, but they were just coming up with stuff, and they weren't just coming up with stuff because of whatever, right? They're coming up with everything it takes to come up with that thing. They already had it, right? They didn't need the structure and the title and this and the application. And I think about how many places where this is monetized, and think of how what role it plays in the economy, right? If you work harder, that kind of thing. And then people come, oh, you work smart. Yeah, work smart, right? But that work harder thing, what does work harder mean? Okay, you're gonna, whatever the hell your cheese talking about, just leave that over there, right? You can do that on Saturday and Sunday. You're gonna come here and you're gonna do this thing, right? And if you're not feeling it, right, if it's not coming out of you naturally, don't worry, I got coffee in that room, right? And if the coffee's not working, you're the problem. There's something wrong with you. You understand? You're off. There's something wrong with you. If you, hammer, don't scoop this food and put it in someone's mouth, there's something wrong with the hammer. The hammer's broken, right? And it's monetizable. It's monetizable because when you get into and it could just be a scale thing, like how big society is now. I'm talking about smaller societies back in the day, but society reaches a certain scale where everybody has to be compartmentalized and kind of like you know, regimented more, right? And that's also a part of it. Is it a playback or live? Well, we're live, buddy. Interesting point. I guess is common in Europe too. Cool. Makes sense based on what you said too. I think following your achievers, following your ego might feel really different. Yes. It'll feel very different, right? Like, like in my ego, I'm a very cool person, man. My cheese not cool at all, right? So I had to stop trying to be cool, and then poof, things started moving for me. I know, I know what I'm saying. If you guys don't know what I'm saying, right? Actually usually gives me a very clean, crisp answer. Wonderful. Usually comes with a lot of noise. B, that was an awesome statement. My life is full of strain and struggle. That seems to be my chi. I agree. Kedu ebe ibi? Di ututu neve. Hey, Michael, ibiala. Michael, kedu ka ide? Mikhail is one of the students for Igbo 1 in Kedu, and he doesn't know how much progress he has made, but me and his two teachers have discussed it, and wow. Mikhail is also a world famous artist. I have a interview with him that we did for Intoju, our New Yam celebration. So if you go to the live section of the channel, it's there. It's necessary for capitalism/slavery, to be honest. Yes, absolutely, Tab. It is necessary for 100%. Then people think money is actually wealth. Money is to wealth what idol is to God. Okay. Mazi dere kedu kedu nwannem kedu nwannem. That is interesting because, and then think of like my idea of wealth has changed, right? Wealth on a monetary level is taking that thing that your chi gave you a lot of and converting it to currency, right? Or converting it to whatever currency is in the world. But everybody has something they're very wealthy. They have a lot of wealth of. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay, this is the best way to put it. There's something that you have a lot of, right? And you can convert it for currency and that kind of thing. That's fine. There's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever, right? You can do that, right? But the system leaves you to believe that the thing you have a lot of doesn't have value. So that if you're a rich person monetarily, money doesn't mean as much. But if you're poor, it means everything, right? And it could be the system, it could be human nature, it could just be whatever, right? It could just be whatever. I don't know who to blame it on. It's just a condition that we live in or a way of thinking that we live in. But Being able to see those things that are abundant within you as wealth is one of the keys to hearing your chi. So, but I'm glad that the questions are taking the direction that they're taking, because on our Odinani group study in not this coming Sunday, not this Sunday, but the Sunday after, we are going to be discussing how to rebuild the relationship with your chi. If you have not subscribed or if you're not a part of the Patreon, go ahead and join at patreon.com/the medicine shell. I wish I can type it so you can just click it. But patreon.com/the medicine shell. That is the discussion we're going to be having 2 Sundays away. But of course, patrons, you have access to my full library that I use for my research and all the different things, the Odinani calendar. Somebody had let me know that I hadn't filled in the meanings of the moons for this year, so I apologize for patrons right now. Once this move kind of settles, I'm gonna fix that. So give me a little bit. A real question is who benefits from us? Okay, we already said that. Ross said something and I missed it. What about knowing things about others, trying to figure out about someone? How can one tell which is ego and chi? Oh man, good question. Yeah, good question. Maybe you might, maybe you never will. I don't think you can, you know. But like okay, ego is not false. Like it's not false, right? It's a part of you. It's a part of you the way your name is a part of you, the way all these different abstractions that you attach to yourself are a part of you. It's not necessarily a false or fake thing. It's not fake. You create it, but there's a lot of things about yourself that you create, right? That are equally valid, you know? So it's not a matter of, okay, seeing which one is their chi and which one is their ego and that kind of thing. Like, there might be one of the, I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but I don't know how to say it, but the I am receiving your ego. You're receiving my ego. That's just what it is, right? That kind of thing. You're not going to meet somebody who's ego free. And there's nothing wrong with the ego. It's just that if, as an individual, if I want to listen to my chi, if I want to listen to my chi specifically, right? If I listen to my chi specifically, I have to start knowing where one begins and the other ends and that kind of thing. Now, if I'm perceiving somebody else and they're presenting me with their ego, as long as the ego is cool, what's the complaint, right? Right? A lot of philanthropists are doing it's an ego thing, right? I'm a giving person. Yeah, that's what I am. I'm a giving person. They give like, oh, but fine, it's helping the world, so cool. Or it's helping the people that they're helping. You know, ego drives people to do a lot of great things. Ego is the reason. The ego you're perceiving from a lot of people is the reason you like them, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Again, I said this earlier, but there is, it's part of that. It's like, I think it's this Christian scaffolding, the battle of light and dark, right? The battle of light and dark, the battle of good and evil. Okay, so which one is dark and which one's light? This is light. Okay, good. We're gonna keep this one. That's dark. Oh, we're gonna get rid of all that. And I think all of like one of the things that the belief systems in Eurasia have in common is that there's always the good thing and the bad thing, and then you become the good thing and then you get rid of the bad thing, right? Whereas Africans say this is the good thing, this is the bad thing. What are you trying to do? Okay, you're going to need 5% good, 3% bad, that kind of thing. So there's nothing, and or okay, this is ego. It's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing. The good that happens in the world is the byproduct of ego. The bad that happens in the world is a byproduct of ego. It just is a thing, right? And then bad is a lowercase t truth. It's not a capital T truth, right? So that if somebody robs you, that's a good thing for their children, right? There was an Elu that said this wonderfully. Something about when a falcon takes a hen, the reaction of the two children are different. Like the falcon's children and the eagle's children are different, right? So there's no capital T, oh, this is a good thing. This is a bad thing, right? So, trying to say, okay, this is ego, it's fake, let me get rid of it. No, if you get rid of your ego, you'll probably walk around naked and, I kind of, your ego's making you do a lot of the things that are respectable about you. There's nothing wrong with that, So it's all about getting rid of it. It's just about knowing what it is. Oh, that's what that is. Okay, that's what that is. Okay, interesting. Okay, cool. Everybody in the gym is in the gym because of their ego, right? But that's okay because it's keeping them alive longer, Uh, But what is cool? Carol, yeah. I mean, that's why I came to learn what is cool, right? What is cool? I think I'm cool, but Kedu. My surname is Dibia Ezue. Dibia Ezue. Maybe I'm saying your name wrong. I apologize. Yes, the money is a representation of the thing, not the thing. Thank you. But people think that the money is the actual wealth. Absolutely. 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 Um, Not a cheat question, but have you heard the stereotype of stingy? What is the stereotype based on? Why do people say people are stingy? I don't know. They have to say something, you know? Everybody's I I noticed that my non-Nigerian, like when you're Nigerian and you encounter a non-Nigerian, they always have very well-developed opinions, or non-Nigerian African. They always have well-developed opinions on Nigerians, right? So, oh, Nigerians are this and that and that. You're just like, oh, I never heard of the Cameroons in my life, or whatever country you're from, that kind of thing, right? And so, in Nigeria, it also happens with Igbo people too. I have a million things people can tell you about Igbo people, but Igbo people, okay. So, yeah, I don't know why there's a stereotype about Igbo people being stingy. My parents aren't stingy. My dad's tight fisted, but he's not stingy, which are different. Makes me think about the hype around ego death tab. Yes, exactly. It's like a very Eurasian way of thinking that, oh, if you get rid of this thing, then you'll be in like, okay, like the idea of like seeking enlightenment, right? The idea of seeking, like, why? In that, like, there are methods of seeking enlightenment in Africa, but the question would be why, right? Oh, I'm trying to, like, for example, somebody who is an Nze is trying to represent their chi, or represent their be a living embodiment of their ancestors. Okay, fine, let that person go be enlightened. That's cool. That makes a lot of sense, right? But I want to, right now I'm trying to learn boxing. I don't need to be enlightened for that, right? If I were enlightened, I'd get knocked out, right? That kind of thing. So there's this like one path for all mentality in a lot of like Eurasian belief systems that I notice is different from in Africa, where in Africa it's like, okay, this is where we're going, this is what we need. And then the other way is this is where everybody's supposed to go. And the people that aren't going there are wrong, and the things that are not on that path are wrong, and that kind of thing, right? That kind of thing. So yeah, the whole ego death thing, I don't, why do you like, what's okay? It, it- and then you meet the people that had the ego death, and it's like, hey, you seem regular to me, right? All right, guys, I think I'm gonna hop. Of course, Nigeria is always spiritual. Yeah, I guess Nigerians are very spiritual people. Yeah. Um, Chi versus ego. Real talk. Listening to this, my chi is telling me very loudly to never pick up and read another self-help book. Oh shit! Another self-help book again. Yeah, there's an industry. There's an industry around this, right? And as there's this kind of revival happening around Odunala Ndibo, or Igbo spirituality, and of course, just because people have incentive to earn, they're okay. This is how I'm going to monetize my position as a Dibia by like making you need me for information all the time. And it's like, no, that's not what it is. That's not what it is at all, right? Find out how to get the answers from yourself. That's what we mean by Owabo Chi or Madona Chi. You understand? Because in the end, Chica Dibia. You understand? So, and they got the most ego too, right? Yeah, they got the most ego on God's green earth, Like, oh man, I'm vegan now. Oh, you're eating meat. Oh man. Yeah, it's our ego that makes us kill animals. Wow, wow, wow. I was like, bro, okay, you're vegan. Go eat your salad, you know? Ego deaths are good for you. Will understand once you recover from it. Your ego will reset and work properly. Maybe. I feel like even a lot of Buddhist monks will tell you enlightenment is overrated. A lot of it is because I think a lot of how we perceive Buddhism and Buddhist monks too is like Western romanticism from the 60s. Like, oh, these are like the opposite of all the bad things about us. So we love money. They don't love money at all. And da, 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 da. And they just kind of just created this like fake whatever. Like we do it with Africa too, right? In America, right? Oh man, they're like kings over there, and oh, we were king, that all that shit. You create this like the opposite of what I believe I am. That's what they are over there, and then like anything else doesn't count. It's like it doesn't fit this mold, whatever. So when you hear like stories of like actual monks, right? Or you encounter actual monks, and it's like, oh, this is like a regular guy. Like, he's not, you know, he, that kind of thing. He's not what I created in my head. People kind of cancel those things out and try to move on from there and so forth, right? Like, there was a period in Japan. I'm trying to remember the period where monks were like terrorizing people with violence. Buddhist monks were terrorizing the community, like the country, But I can't remember the period, and if anybody's interested, maybe I can talk about that some other time because I'm really interested in Japan. It's a cool place. There's a search for enlightenment is ironically very egotistical for many. Exactly, yeah, exactly. Which again, nothing wrong with it. Your ego sent you to go do that. Fine, cool. Maybe your chi used your ego to get you to go there. That kind of thing. Fantasy, magic, most kids. Yeah, it's just in the West. We can collectively benefit from keeping it in check. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's keeping your ego in check is knowing what it is and then knowing like when your ego starts like, okay, that's you, right? Then you can decide, do I agree with you or not? But prior to that, and then maybe that's what we guys talked earlier with the ego death. Prior to that, right? It's you think that's actually you saying that. Okay, go do that thing, right? Like I go do that thing. There was a lot of times where ego made me go talk to a girl, right? And I wasn't even interested in her. Just okay, she's the one here. Let me go talk to her, because that's what a guy would do, right? That's the cool thing, that kind of thing. You know, that's ego that sent me over there, that type of thing. So, ego death is knowing, hey, go over there. No, chill out, man. Ego, chill out. I'm not interested. Just that kind of thing. That would be a healthier relationship, knowing what it is. Sometimes you need to apply it places. Muhammad Ali, somebody brought the example of Muhammad Ali earlier. Just saying something over and over and over and over and over until it becomes real. That's spirituality. That's spiritual work. And when in dealing with spirituality, you lay all the things on the table and you know which ingredients to apply to do what you need to be done. Or you look at everything that you're trying to manifest or be and so on and so forth, and you look at every single part of yourself as equally valid in getting you there in different doses and mixes and things like that. It's not, oh, once I get rid of my ego, I'll be this. Fun. Right, I feel you. Ego isn't bad at all. My ego isn't dead, but I've fought it before. And then again, leads me astray. Cool. Okay. Yes, just knowing when to apply it. Exactly. Exactly. Don't be on its leash. Don't be on its leash. Same thing with like fear. Same thing with anxiety, right? Same thing with anxiety. We were having this discussion on the Odinani group chat the last time. We were talking about the market system and things like that. And one of the things I had said in that somebody, I don't know if she's in the chat. I haven't seen her say anything, so I'll just not say names or anything like that. But one of the patrons had brought up the fact that, had brought up the idea of anxiety, right? And what I was saying was that, there's this saying with our ancestors about Ekwensu that, when you're doing a ritual, Ekwensu will stand over your shoulder to make sure it's being done correctly, right? When you're doing a ritual, when you're doing something, anything pertaining to spirituality, Ekwensu will stand over your shoulder to make sure it's being done. Now, what is Ekwensu? Ekwensu is the Abara that is feared by Abara, right? Ekwensu is whatever you fear, it's what it fears, right? Your Ekwensu is your worst fear's fear, right? That type of thing. But Ekwensu is not standing over your shoulder to necessarily be against you. You understand? Ekwensu is watching over again to see if it's done right. Now take that, right? Take that and bring it into the self, right? If you notice that anytime you're doing something you're particularly passionate about, anything that is of your chi, there's also a lot of anxiety that comes with it. And that anxiety makes sure that you do that thing right. And the anxiety is a fear that doesn't make sense. It's a fear that your fear fears. You understand? That even if you try to rationalize it, it's still going to be there and it's still going to be strong. You understand? You can't say, oh, okay, that's just there. And that thing, that anxiety, make sure you do that thing correctly. So that if you're giving a speech, the anxiety you're having is what's going to make you speak at a level higher than a normal, just casual, relaxed conversation, right? If you're performing a sport, the anxiety of losing is what's going to make you operate at a higher level. My son and my sister and I both notice we have this trait. But my son and my niece both have this particular trait. And the example I use was my niece. My niece was writing the letter D, and she was writing them in a line, and then she like wrote one backwards. And I remember she always does this like whenever she does something like messes up. She goes, she gets like really frustrated. It's like, oh no, we're gonna, it's okay, that kind of thing. She gets frustrated. I remember I went back to her house the next day, and she wanted to show me what she put on the fridge. She was probably like two-ish, three-ish at the time, and they were like photo printed perfect D D D D D D D D D D D D D down the line. Because again, she had this extreme anxiety about not writing the letter D right. That was really bothering her. And it drove her to make prop like my computer can't make a D that perfect, right? My computer cannot make a letter that perfect, that type of thing. And they're both very intelligent children. They're both high performers and things like that, right? And every time you encounter individuals with this particular type A personality, they're always very anxious people. You understand? And there's this school of thought in the West of like, oh, get rid of your anxiety, get rid of your anxiety, that kind of thing, right? Our ancestors say, okay, this is Ekwensu. If Ekwensu is facing you, if it's in front of you, it will defeat you. You're going to lose. It is the thing that is feared by what you fear, right? You're going to lose if it's facing you. But if it is behind you, you're invincible, right? If it propels you, you're invincible. So that when you have an anxiety about something, lean in on it. Don't get rid of your anxiety. Lean in on it because that's the thing that's watching to make sure you do the ritual correctly, right? That's who watches to make sure you're doing the ritual correctly. And then that's how it ends up being done, right? Like whenever I'm doing a video, whenever I'm doing a video, I'm extremely anxious through the entire thing until the last phase of the video editing, right? And it always feels like, this one, I don't know, this one, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's not bad. Let me put this one out, right? That type of thing. I think my videos are good. I know my videos are good, right? But it's that anxiety. If I don't, in fact, I've got to a point where if I don't feel anxious, I go back and start start figuring, okay, I haven't, this isn't it, right? Because now I've decided to lean into the anxiety. Now, does the anxiety keep me from like recording for like 2, 3, 4 days? Oh, absolutely. But that's the wrestling match we have to have. And I now understand, okay, you're the propellant. You're the thing over my shoulder, the thing watching to make sure I'm doing the ritual correctly. And I'm respecting the craft that was given to me because it is not mine to have alone. So, all right, guys, that should be it. A couple of things I wanted to, anxiety was a surviving skill. Absolutely. I was just telling people someone that anxiety is to be respected. Yes. Can't always just be dismissed or suppressed. Exactly. It's like there's this idea like again, get rid of the bad things, keep the good things, and get rid of the bad things, keep the good things. That's a very like Christian scaffolding kind of brain, that type of thing. Oh, that's the devil. This is Jesus. What is it? I think, anyways, that's linguistics. Okay, it's whatever. That's not how it works at all. You know. Uh, my ego is okay. I went there. There's a bullseye. Cool. Anxiety because you care. Anxiety because you care. Anxiety because you care. Anxiety because you care. Exactly. That's what it is, right? That's what it is. If I didn't have the anxiety, right? If I didn't care, that anxiety wouldn't be there. So if I'm constantly trying to suppress this thing or get rid of this anxiety or make myself not anxious, I'm actually creating a situation where I care less and less and less and less. And the sweetness, the beauty of life is caring about things, is caring, is engaging in things, right? So in my sacrifice explained video, I said that things come in twos, right? There's going to be a stem that you, I think it's the word stem. It's going to be a stem that you want and a root that you don't want, right? Or vice versa. You understand? There's going to be a root that you want and a stem that you don't want, right? And in order for you to rid yourself of that thing or to rid it of your life, you actually have to rip out both of them. You have to take out the part about it you like and the part about it you don't like. Every single thing going on is going on because it's what we collectively like, whether we want to admit it or not. you know. Yes, discomfort can be, yes, discomfort is very good for it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Anxiety is also, doesn't always feel like anxiety. It can change your relationship by interpreting it differently. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So long, if it's in front of you, right? If Equinsu is in front of you, you're going to lose. If it's behind you, you're invincible. It's just what it is, you know. It's just what it is. Reminds me, when my third grade teacher tried to fix my cursing D, I was annoyed. Yeah, I didn't know that I had that trait too that my niece was exhibiting, but I realized that what I had done growing up was that whenever it starts kicking in, I would actually just shut off and not do that thing. I'd run away from that. I'm like, it's gonna stress me out too much, that kind of thing. But now, I'm learning as an adult, I've learned to lean in on the stress. The things that stress you out are wonderful, they're good things, right? That's why you fight with the people you love more than strangers, unless you're one of these internet people. But all right, guys, this has been a great discussion. I got to head off. As always, if you want to support the channel, go to patreon.com/the medicine shell. Patrons have access to my full research library. It's full of books. I have like a recommended folder that I always recommend, of course, hence the name, that everybody take a look at. So it has a lot of books, some of them very hard to find, a lot of articles, different things. I go from topics, every single topic within the spectrum of what our ancestors believed and how they perceived the world has a folder. And more folders and more documents are getting added, if not every week, then every other week, right? So that is available to every single patron at every single level at patreon.com/the medicine show, as is my in-house Udinani calendar that lets you know which market day it is. It also lets you know which moon that we're under, and so forth. And it syncs with your Google Calendar. So if, of course, you have a Gmail account, you'd be able to know what market day it is just by looking at your calendar and things like that, which is helps me a lot. It's really convenient for me when I'm manifesting and when I'm doing Iwaji and things like that. And then also, we are officially enrolling new students for Kedu.me. Kedu.me is my Igbo language school that I put together with the help of a very, 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 very phenomenal team that I'm extremely grateful for and learn a lot from every day. Kedu.me. So what makes Kedu particularly different is that each student has both an instructor where you learn in a group together, we just dissect different parts of the language and move along that way. And then you have a coach who I recommend you speak to daily, but of course we all have lives, so you speak to as often as you want. That is helping you kind of reinforce and cement some of these concepts that you're learning them. The idea was to create a learning experience that feels very organic and very natural, and it's not necessarily like, oh, like today we're going to do the alphabet, today we're going to do yada yada yada, that kind of thing. So you're learning based off what's relevant to you and who you are as a person and so forth. And that's the ethos that I'm constantly striving to make a reality as far as Kedu goes. So we're officially enrolling for the summer courses. Summer courses begin June 26th. You can go to kedu.me and sign up, or you can take the survey to see which level I would recommend based off of where you're at as far as your relationship with the language. If you have kids, nieces, nephews, anybody that you wish to teach or you want to learn, that type of thing, we have Kedu Kids, which is now available. I am officially going to enroll my son to Kedu. I've taken him about as far as I think I can, or I mean, I can do a little bit more, but I've taken him pretty far with what I can do. Now I want to have some professionals help him out and so forth. So, yeah, all that is available at kedu.me. Also, Kedu has a forum, kedu.me/forum. And so for Onwa Ifeke, I wanted to learn how to box. So what I've done is I've started a blog where I'm documenting my progress as far as learning learning boxing. One of the last things I wrote, I haven't posted anything, I think about a day and a half, maybe 2 days. But one of the last, just because I'm moving and it's crazy here. But one of the last things I wrote about was about, like, I got a pull-up bar because I'm trying to develop a shoulder, what is it called? Like endurance in your shoulder, like shoulder endurance, or whatever. So I got like a pull-up bar and I got different things to work that out. And then like I got like overzealous. And so my arms for the past like week were stuck like this. Like I'm not being funny, not exaggerating. This was like the only way I can stand, to the point where like having my hand, it was giving me a headache because like it's unnatural. And if I were to bend my arms down, it would hurt severely. But now I'm able to get full range of motion. So I'm gonna be my next post is gonna be about how I can finally move, and I'm finally back home with my family. I was away from home, but I'm finally back with my family, finishing the move and things like that. So, anyways, I'm saying that to say that I started a blog, and it's also for me to practice my own Igbo too and get better and things like that. And I invite everybody to join kedu.me/forum. It's completely free. If you want to just practice and learn the language, it's a good way to do it for free. You just go in there, type whatever. It's open discussion. Follow people. Follow me. If you get in there, by the way, you can follow people, talk about whatever, that kind of thing. So that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming in and having this discussion. As always, uno gadi, uno geto, gobla no tiriaka, ogadi no wa, no ogadi neke, no rie, na fo, na nkwo. Say, you guys take care. Thank you so much for coming.